Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show and our live updated wide receiver rankings for your Dynasty leagues. This is right between weeks 4 and 5 of the 2025 NFL season, live September 30th, 2025. So, this past week we had some unfortunate news with the Malik Neighbors ACL tear. He's down for the season. We've got some hot players, Puka Nacua tearing it up, Rome Odunze tearing it up. Let's see where those guys make some movement in the rankings here. So we're going to get you over to our Patreon and show you the previous rankings that we had, and that had Jamar Chase at number 1, then Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, and Puka Nacua. So right off the top here, pretty easy switch. I will say I am moving Puka Nacua up to number 1. Yes, even ahead of Justin Jefferson. Puka is just smashing too much right now to ignore. I think it would just be foolish to not take into account the target share and the rhythm he's got with Matthew Stafford. I know that Stafford is older than, say, Joe Burrow and J.J. McCarthy, but as long as they're part of the Sean McVay system, I'm leaning Puka right now. It also has to do with the fact that we're right in the middle of the season, and I think Puka is going to be wide receiver 1, so that's what you're buying into right now. So I'm not going to move Chase down too far. I am going to put him ahead of CeeDee still, but all right, there we go. There we go. I think that's Jamar. I think that's correct. 2 R's or 2 A's? I forget. All right, so we're going to slide CeeDee Lamb in at number 4. CeeDee should be back soon, and he was looking solid beforehand, and so I'm not going to move him down further. But what I am going to do is move Amon-Ra St. Brown up into Tier 1. He is producing at an elite level as well, and so I think he deserves to slide up into that top tier. Now, what gets interesting is when we get down to here in these tiers 2 and 3, because Rome Odunze is somebody who definitely needs to be scooped up into this level, and so I'm going to move him up right now. So does JSN. So let me get rid of him out of this. Okay. So what we're going to do here, I have to slide in Malik Neighbors somewhere, and I'm going to start off with Jackson Smith and Jigba. At number 6, he is smashing in Seattle. Now, I know that this last week it wasn't a home run in Arizona, but the previous weeks he was blowing up, and so I'm not going to knock him for 1 week. Next up, though, I'm going to move in Rome Odunze at number 7. The guy's producing at an elite level. He is the number 1 in Chicago, and that's where I'm keeping him. So Brian Thomas, we're moving out of here. I'll slide in Malik Neighbors right there. With the injury, you have to take that into account, but I don't think he should drop out of the top 10. necessarily. Now he might slide down another spot or two depending on who may perform well. Rashee Rice may come back and smash, and so he could move ahead of him. But there's not a whole lot of other guys that could actually jump Malik Neighbors over this next. Because keep in mind with the Neighbors, and I don't want to dwell on it too much because it's out there everywhere, the news, and everybody's talking about it. But my big thing is we're going into week 5, right? Come week 17, 18, as soon as the season's over, Malik Neighbors' value will start to rise again. So keep that in mind when you're involved in trade talks with Malik Neighbors right now, because obviously he's being traded this way and that way, every which way. All right. Now, let me make sure. So we got to put Brian Thomas in somewhere. Just going to, for the moment, slide him in here at number 18. I think that actually isn't a bad spot for him. So we will have him there. And then who else did I move down? Who did I take out? Amon-Ra into tier 1. Took. Let me double check here. Dang it, I took somebody out to move from. Anyway, the key here when you're moving for a top flight receiver here, you want to make sure you're getting something back that is either a couple of good firsts with one being elite. You don't want to just get a couple of late playoff firsts. If you're getting draft picks, you want to be one of them's got to be solid enough that it could potentially replace what you're giving up here. So. Yeah, it's Nico. That's it. Okay, so I'm going to keep Drake London right there. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Move Nico Collins into spot 11. Now, Nico has struggled this year, and I don't think it's necessarily Nico. Well, it isn't Nico. All right, it is on C.J. Stroud and the Titans' offensive line. That's really what it boils down to. So I don't want to hammer him too much. Now, Lemke Buka definitely needs to get up. And so we're going to slide him up into here. Now, I don't want to jump the gun too much on Ibuka, so that's why I'm not moving him ahead of the Drake London, Rashee Rice, Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson. Those guys are all the number ones on their team. Ibuka still, I don't see him as a dude getting 10-plus targets on his team a week, all right, week in, week out. Now, I'll put Ladd down here. I think this is a fair range for Ladd. As of now, obviously struggling. I'll probably end up moving him down, honestly. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I think this is fair. You got JSN, Adunze, Neighbors, and London right here in tier 2. So these are all guys that can get 10-plus targets a week in their offenses. You got Rashee Rice right below, who's going to be moving up here soon. Actually, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put Malik Neighbors down at 10. He deserves to stay in the top 10, but he's going to be basically parked here at 10, right at the top of tier 3, because tier 2, I want to be talking about guys that are going to be producing and potential to win you your leagues down the stretch. So that's where I'm going with this thought process. that's why I'm moving Rashee Rice up now so that you go out and if you pay a little bit extra right now versus whatever like Keep Trade Cut says, that's okay because he's going to be smashing and he'll eventually move up to that range. All right. As far as Egbuka, Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, I think that's solid. Now it gets tricky because these guys have all been underproducing now, except for Tet. And so Tet McMillan, I'm going to move up. And we're going to slide, definitely going to slide A.J. Brown down a hair. So the only tricky thing with Tet is Bryce. He's tied to Bryce Young, and so it's a little scary buying into him. But yep, that's where he is at right now. And so AJ Brown. Just trying to think who else down here I can move up because I have to bring Quentin Johnston up. It's been obviously just smashing. So we're going to keep A.J. Brown right here. Okay. Now is where it gets tricky. Okay. So I'm going to move Quentin Johnston. Okay, I still believe Zay Flowers I'd have ahead of him. Flowers has been doing well, even in that shitstorm last weekend. He did awesome. Okay, and now I'll put Quentin Johnston up here. Okay. All right. Who am I missing now? Am I missing anybody? Just want to be sure before I move along. Okay. Nope, I think I got it. Okay. All right. There we go. Now when we slide down here, take Quentin Johnston out. Down at 67 a month ago. That is just wild. Okay. There we go, 10, 11, 12. Moved McConkey down a tier, which I think is more than fair the way he's been performing. Got Pickens in there at 22. I think that's pretty solid for what he's been doing. Just double checking all my work here before I move down to the next tier, which is tier 4. And when you get to tier 4, you move out of the youth area and you just get into production. So you had DK Metcalf with the big game last week. Jameson Williams still has the big pop games. Jordan Addison the pop games. So these guys are all good. Chris Godwin I had already adjusted accordingly for his comeback there. Okay. All right. Then we get into this mix. So Xavier Worthy, I want to move up into that previous tier. Let's see somebody I can move down. Definitely scared to death of Lad McConkey right now. Let's see here. Yeah, we're gonna do this. Because Lad is just so cold right now. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna slide Lad in right here. For the time being, I'm going to move him back up probably to the top of this tier in a second, but let's get this all squared away first. Here. Okay. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is put Lad McConkey at the back end of this tier. And that's, yes, it's simply based off of the youth factor for him, but really the main takeaway here is Lad is just ice cold, and it's hard to sell him, really. Okay, I'm gonna move Matthew Golden up into here at the back end as well. Hasn't been awesome, but he showed enough glimpses and has the youth, so I'm going to slide him here. He's going to be ahead of the point-producing vets, we'll put it that way, right? Okay. Okay, there we go. So now, when we get to the point-producing vets, Devontae Adams needs to move up to the absolute top of this range, so we're going to slide him up into 28, which is actually 30. There we go. All right, so Devontae Adams slides in here. And then we have McLaurin, Judy. Look at all these injuries. This is just so gross. McLaurin, Judy, Evans, Tyreek, Ayuk. Waddle is going to get a slight bump now with those injuries. So I'm going to move Waddle up to the top of this level. Actually, I'll put him right behind Devontae Adams. There we go. All right. Take him out of there. Okay. Then with McLaurin, let's see, Shaheed. Olave can move up. He's been somewhat producing, I guess you can say. At least to the point where you can count on him more than the other guys who are injured. So we'll put Olave right there. See who else we want to move up. Cortland Sutton, I think, deserves to be moved up. So let's slide him up right after Olave. I think that's fair. Okay. Keep rolling down here, make sure I'm not missing anybody. Michael Pittman I need to move up. Yeah, let's just take Pittman. Pittman was way down here, but obviously with Daniel Jones stepping up his game in Indy, that has extremely helped the value of Michael Pittman. He's going to jump Josh Downs, everybody here. I will put him... Who would I rather have, Pittman or Olave? That That is good. I'm going to put him right in here. So Michael Pittman, our biggest mover other than Quentin Johnston right now. I think that's all fair. Okay. Kellen Ridley, yikes. Rashid Shaheed, Ricky Pearsall. Let's put Pearsall up. He definitely deserves to be up higher than there. So Pearsall. Pearsall deserves to be in this tier. I'm going to put him right behind George Pickens. There we go. Okay. Now that's going to mess with all my numbers, but that's going to have to be, I'm just going to have to make the adjustments. Okay. So Xavier Worthy there. 25, Zay Flowers. 26, Chris Godwin. I'll make it look prettier later. I just want to get the numbers right and get the idea and thought process. That's the whole reason why I do this with you guys, so that you see my thought process and where I'm moving these guys to help you with your rankings at home as well. Okay. Guess I'm just doing it right now, aren't I? So you can see Quentin Johnston moving just below Jamison Williams. I think that's fair. Jordan Addison. There we go. $29. There it is. Okay, much better. All right, so we got 31. Then we get to the point-producing veterans, and that's where I've slid. I know a lot of these may be a little younger than some of these other dudes, but with his health history, I think that's pretty fair for him, right? Right. Okay, so Judy. And we got Evans, going to slide in at number 39. Then Tyreek Ayuk, Ridley, Shaheed, Downs. Okay, Shaheed and Downs I'd put up a little bit. I think I'm going to put them in right here. Shaheed. Now, Rashid Shaheed's a little older than you might think. I know he's kind of come out of nowhere in his career, but he was an older receiver when he was drafted. I think he's already 27 years old, if I can remember right. So I'm sliding him in there. Then Josh Downs just hasn't done much. No reason to move him up. Keon Coleman I can move up. Coleman and Shakir, I think I'll keep back to back. So take these out of here. Put Khalil, Shakir, and then Keon Coleman, and then Josh Downs in here. So Josh Downs, I think, has been the one that's suffered the most by Michael Pittman's, rise from the dead, so to speak. And so that's where I'm going with that thought. Okay. Now, Jaden Reed, who don't know when he'll be back this year. So I don't have a problem keeping him down here. Jacoby Myers. Yes. I think I want to get him up in this range here. I think this is fair for Jacoby. That's about right where you would want to buy him. Again, when you're in this range, they're so close in rankings, but production-wise is really where it's at. So that's why I'm getting Jacoby Myers up there. Out of here. Okay. Now, who else is actually doing something? Deebo Samuel definitely deserves to move up after last week's performance, as well as just the whole season. He's been, I don't want to say smashing, but he's been definitely making up for the lack of production from Terry McLaurin. Steph Diggs, I don't want to get too excited about. Wan'Dale Robinson and Romeo Doubs. There we go. Let's get, I don't want to jump Wan'Dale Robinson up that high, do I? But Dobbs definitely deserves to get moved up here. Yeah, we're going to do it. Romeo Doubs right here. And that's not even necessarily a take that I love him. It's just based off of last week's performance, you can probably sell high on him. The fact is that you can just simply sell him right now. You wouldn't be able to sold him before. Okay, so Dobbs and Wan'Dale. There we go. All right. Let's see, who else do we have down here? Hollywood Brown, Bateman. So I make sure I'm not missing out on anybody. Deontay Johnson, completely worthless. Malik Washington will move up based off of the Tyreek Hill injury. So take him out here. Now, I don't want to move him up too high, but I would buy him over a lot of these guys right now. I think I'll slide him in here right behind Rashad Bateman. Just going to put him in as a name there. Okay. All right. Amari Cooper obviously retired, so we can just get him out of the mix. Keyshawn Butte had the big week one and then didn't do anything. A.D. Mitchell, interesting name. So he missed out on a touchdown. I don't know if you watched any of the Colts Rams game, but that would have been something to see. Go check it out if you can. He was reaching the ball out over the goal line following a big touchdown or following a big catch where he took it like 77 yards, I think it was, and he just reached the ball out and blew it. Like it fell out of his hands. It wasn't where he was being cocky and dropped it. He just literally dropped the ball. Okay, Calvin Ridley is a super buy low candidate because literally nobody wants him. And if you have him on your team, you're sick of him. But there is time to turn it around. That's what Alec Iomanor, where is he? That's who I was thinking of. Okay. Where the hell is he? I guess did I not even have him on here? It can't be. Well, if I didn't have him, I will have him now. And so Elakayo Manor, I think, is going to slide in here right behind Wandell Robinson. And the reason I'm doing that is he needs to be ahead of Ridley, okay? And he's the potential number one going forward for Cam Ward. So Cam Ward obviously struggling so far in his rookie season, but that doesn't mean there isn't hope. Now, I was listening to somebody earlier this morning, and he literally, this is how bad Cam Ward has been. Cam Ward has worse pass efficiency than Anthony Richardson. So that's freaking scary. Okay, that's scary. Okay, there we go. Luther Burden. Luther Burden, I guess, yeah. Should be 55. Okay. That was annoying. I thought I had it. There. You want. Okay. Jawan Jennings. Let's get this right here. Then Luther Burden. Okay. Then we'll do Trey Harris. Trey Harris, a guy who is sliding down the board, and yeah, he's in trouble. But I'll still have him ranked here. Okay. Marvin Mims. It got into the end zone last night. Darnell Mooney's been banged up a lot this year, so what could have been a good season, it's not looking great for him as Drake London and Kyle Pitts have dominated the targets there in Atlanta. Atlanta's been an up and down offense, one that you could buy into because if they develop some consistency, you really could smash there. Okay. Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, an interesting guy. He's so old, but a great buy for a contender. I don't want to jump him up too high, I guess, but just keep in mind, note Keenan Allen because he obviously can be a great pickup for a contender for cheap. One of the best cheap buys out there. Okay. I think that's fair. Christian Kirk. Right behind Jalen McMillan. Jack Besh completely off the board. Like I mentioned Trey Harris earlier. Jack Besh is even worse. Like, okay, we're going to move Christian Kirk just because he's a vet. That would make sense. So we're going to put Christian Kirk up here where Trey Harris is. And then move Trey Harris down where he belongs in no man's land here. So this is we're getting down to the ugly, the nitty gritty here, but there we go, Trey Harris. Now, of these guys, Jalen McMillan, it's unfortunate. I mean, he actually was playing well and then got the bad neck injury in the preseason, which sucks. But, it's football. It happens. Okay, Jalen Coker should be back this week, I believe. So look for him to move up the boards. Kyle Williams struggling so far in New England, so we'll keep him right about here. That seems right. Jalen Coker, there we go. Jalen Noel. Getting a little opportunity there in Houston, but all in all, I think that Tank Dell, if he comes back, actually will jump back over Noel, unless Noel really steps it up here the second half. I don't expect Tank Dell back this year, but that doesn't mean he is to be left for dead. Okay. Then we got a couple of vets here. Josh Palmer, Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown, somebody that I would sell immediately on name recognition, because his time is going to be very limited soon here. Shoot. Okay. There we go. Jalen Tolbert. Rashad Bateman, just somebody also, another vet. Sell him now. Get something for him. Because what's going on in Baltimore is a disaster, and I don't know that Bateman's going to be along for the ride following this year. So that's just my thought process there. Okay. Deontay Johnson, we can kick out of here. Completely useless. Okay. And I'm going to move A.D. Mitchell up. So I think there's hope for A.D. Mitchell. It's just, it's crazy that he can't get it right. And I don't know where I have Alec Pierce, but I'm going to slide him in here too. Now, Pierce got banged up, but still, he's been producing pretty well. So got to have it, make note of him at least there. Okay. Pop Douglas, Keyshawn Butte. There we go. Christian Watson. So Christian Watson can return this year. It's possible. So note him on any of your rebuilds. We got Adam Thielen here. There we go. Now in Minnesota. Okay. And D-Hop. Pat Bryant, Michael Wilson, Roman Wilson. Yeah, there we go. On down. Okay, so there we have it. All right, I will adjust those other rankings following the show here. But the key, let's go back up to the top where the more important receivers are. Sorry, I had to get through those guys at the end, but I didn't want to waste too much more time for you. But keep in mind here, when you're in this range especially, this is the range of dudes who can jump up into the top 10, possibly. But more so, you want to think of them, they're comfortably in this range where you're giving up a first, probably 2 firsts, okay? But, you know, Brian Thomas, A.J. Brown, the guys on the bottom here, that's where it gets tricky. You don't want to give up too much. I don't mind buying any of these guys right here because this is the range where you can find a league winner, because any of these guys right in this range here could get hot for you and help you win a league. Okay, they're not playing at an elite level right now, but they're guys who could step it up and get you that win. So this is the range right here where I'd like to kick the tires on. I'm not saying that they're hard buys. I'm saying that they all have the potential to step it up, other than Neighbors up at number 10, right? So maybe kick the tires on these guys. These are the guys that their owners may be frustrated, like the top end, Nico, Garrett Wilson, Ibuka, and McMillan, not necessarily, but Marvin Harrison, Travis Hunter, A.J. Brown, Brian Thomas, and T. Higgins. Their owners are all super frustrated with these guys right now. And I would definitely try kicking the tires with this range of wide receivers. You go below this, and then you get into some guys who have been producing, the producing veterans. I didn't move, again, Quentin Johnston is somebody who's going to be extremely hard to buy right now. You're going to overpay probably. But yeah, this range here, Harrison, Hunter, A.J. Brown, Thomas, and T. Higgins, still believe in. You gotta know the talent. That's where it comes in with having experience and having played before. These guys are still going to produce. They should not be left for dead. Okay, Pickens is a good sell right now. He had the huge game. CeeDee's going to be back, not necessarily next week, but what happens if next week, without CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens lays a stinker? Then he's going to be really hard to deal. Okay, he could blow up again, and if you're contending, that would kind of blow up in your face then by trading away Pickens. But if you're a contender, I don't think you need to trade Pickens. Now, if you could use Pickens to get up into somebody in the range up above, that's a possible option. All right. But even like George Pickens versus A.J. Brown, I don't know that I'd want to be doing that. I know that I have them in different tiers here, but I'm just saying honestly, you could go from tier 4 all the way down through, say, Deebo Samuel, right? And weekly, you're going to have a fluctuation. So from wide receivers 20 through 45, it's just absolutely week to week here. Cooper Kupp could have a good week next week. Juwan Jennings, Christian Kirk, Darnell Mooney, Steph Diggs, they all could have good weeks. So honestly, it's all the way through wide receivers 60, 20 through 60. It's extremely hard to evaluate because it's just week to week. They just flip so often. And so that's the major cutoff, is the top 60 wide receivers. Anybody above here, I'm okay plugging into my lineup on a weekly basis. Okay, I don't like Calvin Ridley and what he's doing. I don't like, that. I don't like what Jaden Higgins has been doing either so far. But there's a little hope there. Point being is that they're at least playable. Okay. After that, these guys you do not want in your lineups. Okay, they are just. No, I know Bateman is down here, and you probably have but dude, Rashad Bateman is nothing more than Alec Pierce, who's barely one step ahead of Christian Watson. Okay, they are one-trick ponies. Best ball, yeah, it's a little different, but man, I am just saying, be very leery of those types of receivers. They're the ones that can get you in trouble, and the reason they can get you in trouble so much is because you have to pay a little bit more for them because of their athleticism, and I don't want to be buying that. Okay, that you're overpaying. They're going to be demanding like a second for Rashad Bateman, and no. Now, if you have Bateman and you can get a third for him, go ahead and do that. All right. But anyway, that's where I'm at with my updated wide receiver rankings. Be sure to smash that like and subscribe. Check out the Patreon. It's just $3 a month right now. I'm getting all my rankings updated. Did running backs on Friday last week, and now I just did the wide receivers. I'll get to the quarterbacks and tight ends later this week. And be sure to check us out later this week in the birdhouse. We'll do another trade show for you. But yeah, click that little bell. You'll get the updates when that comes out. So thank you all for joining today. And remember, never stop working.